Welcome to the next chapter on outdoor living design using SoftPlan. And to this stage thus far, what we have been working on has been revolving around the decks, getting the skirting wall in there, railings, staircases, and even some of the more intricate details like the direction of the deck surfaces as well as parting boards. This seminar chapter is actually going to focus on the development of a screened-in porch. And we're going to take it from a perspective that this may be an optional item that we're going to be offering, which will introduce something called building options. And basically, the theory will be that we will design this in a different option than the rest of the plan has been designed in. And we will be able to, through a simple clicking of a checkbox, turn on the screened porch to show the client what that is going to look like. And then if they opt not to have it, we can simply remove that option and we'll be left with just the decks. This is much more robust than, say, layering, because layers are typically just something whether or not you want to print an item on or off, but instead this is going to impact not only the construction drawings and the visibility there, but the elevations, the three-dimensional model, and even the bill of materials. Now, carrying on with some of the customization that we've been doing within SoftPlan, you'll notice that we are going to be working with a custom wall called the Porch wall, which is going to incorporate a beam and plate and screens and so on. And so we'll be working with that in this chapter of the class. And if I were to edit this from this finished drawing that we're looking at here, and we were to pop into the actual definition of the wall, what you will see is it's really made up of just a series of pressure treated lumber materials, and which have been dimensioned and elevated, and then there's a screen option. There are a host of porch walls that you can utilize and so on, but all of these have been defined separate from the as-shipped walls within the plan. Selecting OK to close this out, we're going to dive into our working plan that we've been working with. And to begin with, we will go to the main floor plan. And the first thing that we're going to do is actually set up the building option, which will allow us to enable the visibility controls as well as the bill of materials and whether we see it in 3D and so on. To date, you'll see I'm hovering over the default building option in the upper right hand corner, and this is where we have been drawing everything within the project. And so to date, we have drawn 114 objects within the default building option, and what we want to do now is set up building option 1 as the default screen porch option, which could then be enabled for visibility, and we'll explain some of the other options that are there. I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to go to Model, and from here I'm going to select Building Options, and this will now allow me to go in and set this up. And so as I come into the building option and I enable this option here, I can actually also rename this, and we're just going to call this the Screen Porch option. With its visibility on, we'll have the ability, if we want, to actually either lock items in place as it pertains to that building option, so that those items cannot accidentally be moved or rotated, etc. We'll be able to go in and fade those items to background. And then the last option that you may want to look at is whether or not the items are going to be color-coded to this drawing. So right now, if we say use item colors, a wall is going to draw brown, and a symbol is going to draw magenta, and so on. But if we remove this, we could then go in and select the option that we want to use for the building option, and now everything is going to be color-coded to that one color. As I select OK on this, I will now be able to change into that building option, the screen porch, and as I draw, everything is going to adhere to that option at this time. If I right-click and select Wall, We've already set up within this plan the custom porch walls that are available, and so in this case here we're going to select the porch wall beam and plate with screen and select OK. Again, I'm drawing inside the screen porch, so I'm simply going to zoom up onto the drawing, and I'm going to select the F11 snap key, which will allow me to preview where I'm going to be drawing the wall relative to the item that it's snapping to, and then I can move the cursor left to right from that starting point and click. What you will see is the wall that I've drawn has actually been color coded at this stage now and is showing the color of the screen porch building option. If I were to switch into 3D, we can see the building option wall right here. Okay, and in essence, if I were to come into the building option even from 3D, I will remove the check mark off of the building option for screen porch, and because this is no longer going to be visible, I have to select a viable building option to be my current one that I'm going to be drawing, and so I'll select on the default option to highlight it and press OK. This is now removed from the 3D, it would be removed from the elevations, and it would also be removed from within the floor plan. Once again, if I want to see this, I can turn it back on and select OK. If you right-click and edit the wall, you will be able to see that if you go into the Comment tab, down here about a third of the way down where it says Building Option, it will tell you the building option that it's in. This is important to note because you may draw items and then decide after the fact you want to assign them to a different building option. You simply edit the object, select the Comment tab, select the Assign Building option that you want to assign it to, and then you can enable or disable which option it's actually being set to. So while I'm looking at this wall, I will note that at this stage right now, the height is at 8 feet. The offset is at the depth of the floor system because it started at this point on the wall here and pulled left to right, and so it will adhere to the height and to the floor system or the offset that's there. I'm also going to change the exterior side to face down, which basically is just how the wall was defined inside the definition. And so at this stage right now, this will allow us to show the header beam that we've got kind of running across the top of the wall, as opposed to having it the way I sketched it in. I had the wall inverted so that that was facing towards the top of the screen and not the bottom. And so I will click OK on that, and we'll just take a quick look at the 3D shaded, and there it is. So we're going to continue with drawing this wall, and so what I will do is I will come in here, right click, select that wall from the drop down menu that shows, and basically when you right click and you have multiple items on the screen, we basically pull up a locatable menu for you. So within the area I right clicked, I had the wall, I had the deck surface, and I had the deck joist were all found. So in this case here, I can select the wall that I wish to use. I can then select the draw select command, which picks or makes that wall the item that I want to draw in. And I want to point out, just to reinforce, I've accidentally begun drawing this in the wrong building option. And so in just a moment, you'll see that when I draw this in, okay, if I were to come in and edit that wall, I would then, after the fact, be able to go in and modify which option it's going to, or which building option it was going to be assigned to. My draw select actually automatically assigned it to the screen porch, but in this case here, I would want to make the screen porch my option so that I don't necessarily draw in the wrong direction or way. So with the porch walls in place, the next thing that we can do now is we can go ahead and begin to sketch in things like openings. Okay, and so at this point right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in through Draw and select the opening command. And when I open this up, I'll go to the exterior door library and scroll down to where it says Screen. We have a host of defaults, screen libraries in there, and of course you can always add to this list. But again, I'm going to scroll the list, and I'm looking for a double door, let's say, something maybe that's 5 feet in width, and here's a thin screen, door. And so once I have what it is that I'm looking for, I will position my cursor on the wall and click to add. This door can be edited whether I do this inside 2D or 3D, whereby I could modify this and change the type of opening. If I had a custom dimension, something that wasn't already in the library, I could remove the product code and key in the custom dimension for the opening to be what I need it to be. Okay, I would also be able to go in and modify anything to do with trim work and so on. And of course, lastly, make sure that it was assigned to the building option that I wanted to assign to. And over time, you will get used to managing where options go and so on, so that you can always, flip back and forth, without having to edit every single item to make sure that it's there. Coming back into the main floor plan, we can see the color coding on the actual wall itself. If I edit this door here, I'm going to go into the display tab, and this is where I can reverse the door so that it's actually swinging to the inside. Now, there's a lot of detail that's going on, and so what I want to do is actually, for just a few moments, turn off some of the detail to allow me to do a little bit of work as it pertains to the plans. And so I'm actually going to come in through options and visible items at this stage. And if I click on decks, here I can remove the visibility of that item. This is different than building options because it's still going to appear in 3D. I'm just simply removing it so that I don't see it on the plan in this mode at that time. And so I'm going to turn off things like deck surfaces. I may turn off the deck joists, the decking outline, and so on. But I may leave the railings on because I may want to see where I'm placing certain posts as it pertains to the railing posts and so on. And so at this stage, if I click OK, you can see a lot less detail being shown right now, which is going to make my life of drawing a little bit easier. And I will save this. Okay, so coming in, I may want to pull an extension and dimension here. So coming in through dimension and single extension, I can click and I can pull my dimensions off. These are currently running to the edge, as you can see, and I could run the cursor all the way through and then modify those dimensions to suit. I could also come in and just simply right click and center the opening so that I get it, placed either along the inner wall length, the center of the wall, or the outer wall length, and then click OK and have the actual opening move for me. Okay, so that can all be done within just either editing dimensions or editing the actual opening, and depending on which dimension you want to center this on, you can set that up. One of the options that we would have at this stage is we need to have some posts that are going to vertically run up and support the structure. And so one of the options I could do is I could edit the given rail and I could modify the height of the rails. The issue here would be that these posts themselves would actually be attached to the default building option and not the screen porch option that I've got there. And so if I want to actually control the posts and have them be able to turn on and off, then I would want to go in and control or draw my new posts as it pertains to the screen porch. So dealing with these posts or drawing them in, I'm going to come in through the draw option and I'm going to select post, and then from the list of posts I'm just going to scroll down to find a square post that I wish to use. And in this case here, I'm just going to position my cursor to click and then drop it in. And as I right click on this, I'll be able to edit the post and key in its new dimensions to match the width of the wall. I would also be able to come in and modify the height so that this post matches the height of the actual screen itself. And one other thing that I may do, right now we don't have a lot of detail on our deck because I turned the visibility off, but I might be tempted to set this in as being solid fill so that it's easier to see. And now what I could do is simply move this into place so that I have it, framing out that right side of the door. One other thing that I will do, just noticing after I turned it off, is I will turn the pad off so that I don't necessarily see that. And so right-clicking on this post here, I can select the copy option. I can move a copy of this post to the left side of the door and place it in. Now I know that there's likely going to be a post placed at the midpoint here and another one here. And so with that information, I'm going to right click and select the post. With my snap feature on, once again enabled using the F11, I can see with the projection snap when I find the midpoint of the wall, and I can position my cursor where I wish to place this and click. And then I could add a secondary post over here to the left hand side. So once again, still drawing with the same draw select command, I'm actually adding in my post and having it snap to the wall. As I take a look at this, we can see the post running across the plan and framing out where the screen porch is going to be. Okay, so we're going to add a couple of posts along here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this rail now, and I'm just going to come into the end post, and we're actually going to turn this off to have no posts, because we're just going to actually manually place our square posts in. And so at this stage now, I will just simply repeat edit that change there. This is going to now allow me to go in and sketch posts along here. And again, I'm probably going to do this sort of work inside the actual drawing option. We can see the dotted line or the lines where we want to place the posts. And so in this case here, I will right click. I will select the post that I want to use, and then I'm just going to snap to the center point of the rail using the F11 snap key. It doesn't hurt to zoom in and get things placed, and in some cases what you will see here is with my the cleanup feature within the plan, I've actually got my screen wall running just or snapping to a butt or miter with the siding wall that's there. And so I'm going to edit this wall, and one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to change its wall joint tolerance. Now the joint tolerance is basically the cleanup feature of the plan. That's why when you sketch within the plan, you don't have to be completely accurate. Soft plan, as long as two walls are within 6 inches of each other, will snap to one another. But in this case here, what we want to do is we want to have that butt up to the wall, not snap to it and try and clean up, and so I'm going to adjust that. And in essence, the skirt wall has actually done the same thing from a previous lesson, and so I will do the same thing, setting the tolerance to 0, which means I'm going to take control of this wall and making sure that it goes to where I want it to go and not have it snap or clean up into an existing wall that's there. And so very quickly, here we have our screened-in porch to date. And keep in mind, we run the report, the client doesn't want it, we can always turn this off. And just to show you, if I forget to make the active or the default building option, active, it will prompt me, hey, please select a visible building option, so we could actually select one that's visible and that's been removed. And so I'm just going to go ahead and turn that back on so that we can continue with our design. And so we can see to date at this stage, we're getting our porch in place. We've got our doors, we've got our posts, and so the next thing that I want to tackle is actually placing the roof on this drawing. And this is where things are going to get a little bit tricky with this, because what we're really going to do is we want to place a gable roof on here, running back into the house, which eventually is going to set up an area that may trap moisture, and so we'll also have to come in and place a sloping portion or roof plane to allow for proper runoff. All of this was drawn inside the main floor plan, but the roof itself we're going to want to place in the second floor plan. And that's going to be important because in the second floor plan, It will allow us to see how this attaches to the existing roofs that are on the structure. I'm still drawing in the screen porch. This building option carries over to the project, okay? And so when you click on this, you'll see the number of items in this plan is 77, okay? And then on the main floor plan, the number of options in the default is 110 with 12 in the screen porch. And so we're just going to, drop in here, and the first thing we're going to do is under draw and roof options is where we could come in and set up all of our default options. So we're going to place this roof with a 412 pitch and with a 12-inch overhang, and we can specify the heel height in that information. On the gable end finish, I'm actually going to set this up ahead of time prior to placing this roof that we're going to use a screen gable end finish. And so once I select this screen gable and finish, I can come in through trace roof. And what I will do here is I'm going to start at this outside corner. I'm going to trace the perimeter of this, but if I start out here, it makes it easier to find my starting point. And so clicking at that outside corner, I will simply trace this roof all the way around. And when I do that, Softline's going to try and shed this roof onto the existing roof that's there. And technically, this actually works well in terms of getting the runoff and so on, as far as that goes. However, we're going to set this up to actually have a gable running front to back. So it's going to kind of negate this whole shedding onto the roof itself. And so using the adjust item feature, I'm going to come in and I'm going to select this and drag it to away towards that wall and edit this edge. And I'm going to change the roof edge to a hip. And when I do that, it's going to change it from valleying onto the existing roof so that it now slopes at my defaults using a 412 pitch. And I'll click OK on that. And as I zoom out, we can see the roof that we have. And then I can edit this roof here and apply a gable to the front plane. And so once again, as we look at this, we can see what the roof looks like. Now, obviously, we've got a collision point happening here, and we've set up a plane right here that's going to catch moisture. Okay, so two things that we need to fix. The first one, all right, that we could do is we could come in and we can actually, if you will, get rid of this edge of the roof, which is actually, coming into the plane just by cutting a hole or paring it back. And so I will do that again inside the second floor plan. I'm going to zoom this up and I'm going to select draw, followed by hole, followed by trace rectangular hole. I'm going to position my cursor over the roof and click. And then what I'm going to do is simply click the sketch where my hole is about to start and trace it over the existing roof that's there and click. And when I do that, anything found within this box is going to be removed from that roof. And so you can see it now dying into our new roof that we're placing there. It's like we've just come along and we've cut the entire eave line off altogether. And I can, inside the second floor plan, edit this hole. And I'm going to remove any fascia and soffit from it as well. It still sets us up for an issue with runoff. And so what I'm going to do here is come in through draw, and I will select roof, and I'm going to select the command called roof plane. And when I click this, I'm going to position my cursor where I want the roof plane to start, and I'm now going to trace this from one roof to the other. And then I will expand this all the way down to where I want the roof plane placed, and you will see that at this stage it places this in. This roof plane can be edited, and you can modify the actual height for exact dimensions, because right now I just simply sketched it in. And I can even change the height or the elevation on this as well. And so as we look at this roof here, we can see now we've got our larger roof on the screened-in porch. We also have our roof that we're going to shed in here. And this can be completely adjusted from within the second floor plan. So I can, using the adjust command, which is just move and adjust, pick the endpoint and drag it down to where I want the roof plane to run, so that we get the proper runoff. I was playing with the dimensions, and so I'll edit this to be something that allows for a better slope on that, and we now have the roof setting. And so this, at this stage, takes us to the end of this chapter. In the next chapter, we're going to go in. We'll place some of the beams in the in the gable end. We're actually also going to frame out the roof and add things like skylights to the plan as well. And we're going to take a look at beginning to lay out some of the hardscapes that we want to place around the decks that we have designed.